am thrilled to have Linda Hunt on the podcast today. She's a money clarity catalyst, a pricing power strategist, and founder of SumSolutions LLC. And she helps entrepreneurs achieve financial clarity, rebuild pricing power, and scale profitability without burnout or doubt. That is a tall order. So thank you, Linda, for being here on the podcast. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Angela, thank you so much for having me. And yes, it is a tall order and it's all from lived experience. I basically had to teach myself all of the things that I now serve in my business. So yes.
Right. And speaking of your lived experience, let's talk about your journey from corporate
Sure.
to dipping your toes into the remote accounting field to
Yeah.
helping entrepreneurs build more
Yeah.
financially sustainable businesses now.
Yeah. So many, many moons ago, before remote accounting was even a thing, I actually left. I had, if you ever read the E-Myth Revisited, Michael Gerber's book, I had what he calls an entrepreneurial seizure. I was in corporate, I was traveling a lot of the time, and I got to know my shared limo driver. He was the owner of the business. I got to know him pretty well, him and his cousin, and they were having some difficulty. And here I found myself like consulting in the back seat, you guys should try this or you should do this and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I got that coupled with so I really was getting a lot of satisfaction out of that, right? And I think as women, right, we're driven by the impact that we make, right? So I was really enjoying that I was having an impact and then they were seeing improvement. And then an event happened, I think, where I asked to stay home from traveling for a little bit and my boss said no. And I went, okay, well, here's my 2 weeks notice. And I left. So that was my entrepreneurial seizure. And then I started a remote accounting services business before it was even a thing. The internet wasn't quite caught up but the mistake I started with, Angela, was the identity, right, of my business. I was really consulting on financial operations for this company. I'm helping them with their pricing. I'm helping them, kind of present that pricing to customers and winning business and then helping them to structure things. But I held myself out as a bookkeeper. So I immediately had this identity, a wrong identity. I don't even know how else to call it. So I'm charging like, say $25 an hour, yet I'm providing premium level consulting services. So that was one of the first mistakes I made. And I think as women, we do that. I think
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to call it imposter syndrome. I just thought that's what I was doing, right? And I really
Mm-hmm.
didn't understand the value of the transformation that I was providing at the time. So learned the hard way. I'll fast forward. I learned the hard way, made so many, many mistakes. And then as I started to learn and get better, right, at being able to state my price and understanding the value that I was providing, I started noticing other bookkeepers, other folks who had accounting services businesses, they were struggling with the same thing. So I started teaching and I started having impact with that. So that's kind of what led me into, while we still provide accounting services and we do the financial architecture, for companies, we also there's a big part of my business where I focus on working with especially women, service business owners, and helping them understand their value of the transformation that their services provide and help them gain confidence around pricing and money conversations and ultimately just relating to money differently.
That is quite the journey, and I really want to get into this idea of why so many service based businesses and women, especially, really struggle with their pricing and conversations around money
Yeah.
and understanding their worth and their value, like you
Right.
discussed.
Right. Yeah. So I think I already touched upon part of it where um we truly, when we start our business, truly don't understand the value of the transformation that we're providing. And a lot of us get into business because we have a passion for doing what we do, right? So when your service is your heart, it's your voice, it's really hard to state a rate without feeling like you're selling yourself.
Mhm.
So, right? Like, and then so then you state your rate and then you immediately think, or this was my personal experience, you're anticipating what the other person's thinking. You're anticipating being judged. You're anticipating going, oh my gosh, was that too much? Oh my goodness. Um, I can't, I need to fill the silence, right? So you're kind of having all these thoughts going on in your own head. And that that is where the nervous system comes into place, right? Because we're so worried externally about what everyone's thinking that we haven't given ourselves permission. We haven't given ourselves permission to stand in our confidence, stand in our values, stand in our worth, because sometimes we're not sure of what that truly is. Because when you're good at what you do, sometimes you can't figure out, like it comes easy to you. So you're like, oh, well, yes, I can do that. Like, before, when we were in the green room talking to each other, you said, and I'm sure this is not your business, right? But you said, oh, my friends asked me to create that little essential oil concoction for them, right? But if that was your business and it's easy for you to do, and if you just did it because it gave you such gratification to be able to help someone, but there's intrinsic value in that. And because you know how to do that quickly and easily, doesn't mean the person asking for it. There is value to that. So it's multi-layered. I mean, we could go on about this, but I think at the core of it, it's when our service is our heart and our voice, it is the lines often blur. So I
Mhm.
teach people how to separate that and truly understand the value of the transformation that their services are providing.
One of the things that I really love that you mention is this idea of having awareness of your nervous system
Yeah.
and how you're physically reacting
Yeah.
to maybe a price that you're about to put out into the world or
Mm-hmm.
give to a client or send on a proposal. So, how can we begin? And I think that this is specifically a problem for women. It's like we don't know how to separate that fiction that I say our nervous system is sending us
Right.
as opposed to it just being data or information that you're
Right.
providing.
Yes. And I love that you called it data because it is data, right?
Right.
So our nervous system, so our body keeps score,
Right.
right? And I know for me, one of the things that used to happen is when I stated my rate, my voice would shake. It would wobble because I was so worried about what the other person was thinking, what they were going to say. And really, we have to train our nervous system to feel safe, being seen, right? Because we can't hold more if we're not willing to be seen. And I think for women that like we're taught from a very young age to operate in the background, right?
Yeah.
We are taught
Mm-hmm.
to anticipate needs and solve problems. And that's a lot of invisible work. And we do that in the background and it's natural to us. So we need to retrain ourselves. Um, and but yeah, I loved it. You said it. It's true. If when we state a rate, if we don't believe, like this, let's say your rate is $100 an hour, but you're suddenly going to charge $500 an hour. You don't believe in that rate yourself. When you communicate it, your body is going to send off those signals. So we have to train our nervous system to feel safe, being visible, holding more money, holding more responsibility. And because if we don't, we unconsciously underprice. And how that shows up is, you hesitate when you send that proposal, right? You open it back up and you reread it and maybe you change the rate again. Or You're stating your rate and the other person hasn't said anything yet. What you have to realize is you're coming to that conversation with your money conversation, your beliefs about money, but so is that person.
Mm-hmm.
So as women, if we are met with silence when we state our rate, we often go to fill that silence because it feels uncomfortable. So, quick trick that you can do is when you state your rate, what you want to do is bite your tongue, like literally bite your tongue so that state your rate and then be quiet and bite your tongue if you have to, or pinch your palm or something. Do something that physically stops you from doing it. But what I like to tell, what I teach all my clients is that you want to talk about your services. You want to talk about the journey that the client's going to go on, right? So say you're an interior designer and you are going to transform a space that's not functional for a family. Say it's a mudroom. The space is not functional. What you're going to do is you're going to learn how that family operates, like what's the best kind of storage for them. And then you're going to transform this space. I'm going to transform this space for you, not only beautifully, aesthetically, but it's going to function for you. And here's how we're going to do that. 1, 2, 3. The investment for that, the design investment is going to be X. So I just neutralized that whole conversation because I anchored it in the process that I follow to deliver my services. And that's the key to it. That's really the key that separates us from the service. So we know, so yes, we're still selling ourselves, but it feels separate and it allows you to gain confidence and talk neutrally about money.
I always say that there are two aspects to everything that we do. There's a practical and there's an energetic.
Yes.
And all too often, I don't think that we understand our nervous system's role in the energetic. So I love that you brought that up. How we're feeling transmits to other people.
Yes.
It's like if I was nervous talking to you, I was like, "Hi, Linda, how are you?"
Right. Right.
Right. I mean, you would definitely know that, and it conveys itself. We're not fooling anyone by how
No.
we're presenting our pricing or who we are or what
Correct.
transformation that we're providing. So I love that you're reminding us of that because we're usually just so focused on how we're feeling or the outcome we want to have.
Yes. 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 And oftentimes we will compromise ourselves to get to that outcome. And then if it's not aligned, that actually costs you so much more energetically. It's the price is, you don't want to pay that price. So how I teach my clients to support, how I taught myself and how I teach my clients to support their energetics is you got to create a structure. Your business needs a structure. You call it a container, whatever it is. But when you have that structure, you get to the structure supports you versus you holding up the structure. And that's where I think the other thing women do in their business is they don't necessarily, we're so used to holding up all the balls in the air. Oh, this is just one more thing. And you don't even realize you're doing it. But so I struggled. I'll tell you where this came from. I struggled selling my accounting services. And I knew that I needed to look at an accounting file in order to be able to properly quote the fee. And I'm thinking to myself, well, nobody wants to give me their file. Like they don't know me. They don't want me to look for it. How can I get what I need and get them to trust me? Because a lot of times when I started this business, so many people would say to me, so many clients, I've hired bookkeepers before, I've been burned, I've paid a lot of money and I still have a mess. So you're kind of dealing with that, right? You're dealing with the mistrust. And I think other service businesses deal with that as well. Having said that, what I developed was a baseline evaluation. I said, okay, for, I don't even remember what it was, maybe $200, $100. I'm going to look at your accounting file. I'm going to come back. I'm going to understand all of your challenges, and then I'm going to come back to you with a report. What that allowed me to do, I didn't realize I was creating a container for myself. It was creating a way for me to gain confidence in letting that client know I could help them. Now, if they wanted to work with me, great. Then we moved on to I quoted them the next group of services. Boom. If they didn't, I still got paid for my time. So it was an even exchange. And that's the other thing women have to remember. We often give advice out for free, especially in our businesses. I just did a talk not that long ago, and at least 3 women were like, phenomenal, intelligent women doing great consulting work. And they're like, I don't understand. I have a discovery meeting with them and they don't hire me because they were giving them the solution for free. And you can't blame the client because that's the container that they created. So I quickly just said, okay, you need to do an evaluation. You need to do a paid evaluation. She changed that up, is offering a paid evaluation now, and now is getting those bigger projects. So they're just little things we can do to create boundaries. You know, that's really what it is. It's strengthening our boundaries. And here's the thing. It's going to feel uncomfortable still. When you start regulating your nervous system, especially around money, it's going to feel uncomfortable. The trick is you got to stay with it. You got to stay with it. You got to feel it. And you got to give yourself grace because we're not taught to do this. We're not taught to do this. Yeah.
And I was going to ask you, what a container would look like, what that structure would look like. And that was a really great example. And then I was going to ask you, like, what are some of the common mistakes? And you talked about boundaries. So are there any other common things that we're not doing that can give us more confidence, give us more self-trust and nervous system regulation once we commit to staying into it longer?
Yeah, that's a great question because what comes to mind, and it might not seem like it's directly related, but it is. As service providers and women, we often underestimate our true capacity. So if we're always hustling and we're constantly moving from one thing to the next, we don't have time to sit and think and be creative. So I call this the perfect pricing formula. It's actually a free training on my website, and I encourage everyone, go check it out. I think it's a 15-minute video with a workbook, and you will calculate your minimum aligned price. I call it MAP. And what MAP is if you're charging below that rate, you're actually paying your client to work for them. But what this does, and this is the reason why it's a perfect formula, is it allows for true capacity. So it incorporates time off. It incorporates vacation. It incorporates strategic time to work on your business, all the things that we forget. And we're trying to fit in, right? And mom, right? As mothers, we don't have one job. We have like 7, 8, 9 jobs. And then when you have a business and you're wearing many, many hats, we underestimate our capacity. So if you can get to your true capacity, then you can set a rate that truly supports your life and your business. And then the hustle quiets down. The mind has time to think. You have time to think, and you have time to be in your body. You have time to be in your body.
I've often said the capacity is my favorite word.
Yes.
And I really find that not only do women not underestimate their capacity or overestimate it, but they don't even consider it at all.
No.
It's just like you were talking about. We're just constantly fulfilling everybody's needs, no matter what that requires of us. But you're reminding me of this bigger idea that when you start a business, you need to be on a mission to understand not only what your capacity is, but to increase it. Because I think when we increase our capacity, we're able to scale our businesses and do more or work less and earn more,
Right.
whatever
Right.
you're looking for.
Right.
But we increase our capacity at the rate in which we feel safe and
Yes.
regulated.
Yes. Yes. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And another thing that I try to incorporate is if it drains me, right? Because as a business owner, we're wearing many, many hats, and there are the things we're really, really good at, and then there's the things we're not good at that we shouldn't be doing. And yes, I understand sometimes the budget doesn't necessarily, catch up with that. But we always want to ask ourselves the question, how do I not live here? Okay. And what I mean by that is to me, it's the ultimate capacity question because yes, you're going to be doing it at the beginning, but if you systematize it in a way or you structure it in a way that you can delegate it in the future and still keep your pulse on it and know that someone's doing it correctly, that's going to help you scale your business. So yeah, you want to ask, how do I not live here? It's funny. I just literally wrote an article on my blog. It's on my blog on my website about the invisible cost of ambiguity, and it was a lesson I just recently learned. I had created a new role in my company. I hadn't fully scoped it out, and I'm like, uh-huh, okay, I understand why this went sideways. I understand, and because the structure as women, we're an owner of our own business, we're holding the context for everything. And we have a tendency to create a structure where everything falls back to us. But we want what women, I believe, truly want. And you can tell me if you agree. We want to empower others to stand on their own 2 feet.
Mm.
So if we want that, we have to then create the containers or the process for people to do that successfully in our business. We create, as mothers, we're doing that with young people, right? The young people in our children, we're creating them to be self-sufficient human beings. We have to take that same approach and apply it to our business because our business is just another baby.
I don't know if a lot of the women I talk to don't necessarily, I think, see themselves as empowering others, but they have this goal of growing their business. So, what I always point to is I don't know an entrepreneur who didn't start their business for more freedom and choice.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
if you are creating this situation where you're the linchpin or you're constantly the decision maker or it always lands on
Yes.
your desk before things can be done, then you're not creating that freedom and choice that you
Right.
probably started on this journey to find or have.
Right. And I think part of that is because we don't know what we don't know. So, and not everyone can create process. I've learned that through the years. Not every, but you do know what you want the outcome to be.
Right.
So, if you have someone a trusted colleague, a coach, whatever, go to Chat GPT even. Say, this is the outcome I want. What are the steps that get me there?
Yeah.
Right? Because we always want to be thinking about, yeah, we don't want to be the linchpin in our own business. We'll never scale. We're going to create a business that we don't love. And the thing that you love, the reason why you went into your business is because you loved it.
Mm-hmm.
You love doing the thing that you're doing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, a colleague of mine, I love to bake. And for Christmas, I bake cookies all the time. And this colleague kept saying to me, you should sell them. You should. I'm like, no, I don't want to take the thing I love and turn it into something I don't love. And for me, but some people turning their baking into a business would work for them, right? And they can leverage that and they can get their recipes to the point. That just wasn't who I was. But you have to know that about yourself, right? You have
Mm-hmm.
to know, do I love this enough? And how do I maintain that love of my business without creating a business I don't love, because I did that. I mean, I know it's going to sound crazy, but I do. There's a sense of calmness in numbers for me. It's just a language I speak, right? But then I created this accounting business where I was like, oh my gosh, I can't stand this. And I stepped back and had to really rework everything so that I was not the linchpin. And now, you know, I'll have my clients close their ears. Do I even look at their accounting files? I don't. But they're getting quality service because I created the process that offers that quality service.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, fun things.
Yeah, I think it's so important. And we have conversations on not only creating a business that you love, but can even potentially sell at some
Yes.
point.
Yes.
So, not having you as the linchpin also allows you to do that. I mean,
Absolutely.
we've had several guests on the podcast who have done that successfully and have created great fortunes for themselves, but they started out with that in mind, or at some point in the process created a business where that was possible. And so I just want to make sure I put that in there. And like you said, I think it's so important to start anything with the idea of what does done look like.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. What is start with the end in mind, right?
right.
Start with
So
the end in mind.
yeah, I think that that's so important. I think that all of the things that we've kind of talked about have played into your potential answer to this question,
Okay.
but I really wanted to get any other thoughts that you have on how women can lead with more authority in
Hmm.
conversations around money and
Sure.
sales without feeling the ick and
Yeah.
feeling like they're pushing and they have to create lots of discounts, which I think
I don't believe.
diminishes your value.
Yes.
Um, so yeah.
It's like a lot. Yeah. It's like discounting like a lot. We could have a whole conversation on that. Um, I, I think at the core of it, right? One of the I have a book coming out called The Money Conversation. And when I was sitting down to write The Money Conversation, my goal here, and really it's about creating alignment, right? Especially for service providers. So it's about coming to a sales conversation are we a fit for one another? Right? So it's moving from the hustling and that to the align to being in alignment. So how do you get there, right? So it's moving, I think for women, it's moving from permission to ownership, right? So we want them to increasingly decide what their work is worth rather than waiting for external validation. So that's one of the core things that I think when we're dealing with money is we wait as women, we wait for that external validation. We wait for somebody to say, yes, you're doing it correctly. Or we try to price ourselves based on someone down the street who might be doing something completely, even though you say you're doing the same service, they could be doing it completely differently than you and the experience you're providing. Um, so, so we have to work on moving from permission to ownership of sovereignty, right? Like it's self-sovereignty. Um, Redefining wealth beyond income. I think that's the other core thing here. Wealth includes stability, it includes choice, it includes time, and it includes the ability to support family and community, not just revenue, right? So our definition of wealth. So I think as women, we inherently know all of that, but we don't equate that. We don't live the definition of wealth. We think like, oh my God, I have to make money. And then we try to go do that in a very patriarchal society. I mean, the workforce is patriarchal. I mean, you start working, your first job, you're trading dollars for hours. And then when we go into our business, we kind of have that mentality, right? We have to learn that it's not how much time we show up and provide. It's the value of the transformation that you're delivering. And that could take you 5 minutes, yet it's still worth $1,000. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's getting comfortable with that. So it's redefining wealth. It's the permission and letting go of underpricing as a form of safety, right? Because we do that. When we're doing that, when we're offering the discounts, when we're not raising our rates, when we're continuing to work with a client in a situation where the scope has definitely changed, that client's a high touch client, may no longer be in alignment for you. We are doing that from a point where we are keeping ourselves small and we're keeping ourselves safe. And being a business owner, I always say this, you meet yourself. You meet yourself, you find out what you're made of, and only you can give yourself permission to shine your light. Nobody else is going to do that for you. However, you can have things that are going to, people can encourage you to do that, but you have to decide that that's what you want to do, that you want to show up. If you're going to be in business, you want it to pay you and pay you well. You want it to give you the balance that you're looking for in your life. Like you said, more choice and more freedom. I can remember the moment when I absolutely hated my business. And I was like, oh my God, this is worse than having a job. I am like, this is worse than having a job. How did I get here? And I stepped back. And it was such, I actually had so many deadlines and everything. And I was just like, no, I have to step back for a couple of days. And it was the most uncomfortable thing to sit in that place. But sitting in the discomfort, it always reveals something to you. It reveals to you what your heart really wants. And my heart really wanted to not go back to have a job. And I said, okay, that's what my heart really wants. Then how do I make this work? And then as women, we're so, I don't even know the right word to say, but we figure it out. We figure it out and we get there. So I would say those three things come to mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is so important to, like you said, meet yourself, understand yourself, know yourself. And I think that that is probably the scariest part of entrepreneurship because usually working a 9 to 5, we don't have to do that so much self-reflection, or we
Correct.
just go on to the next job or, whatever.
Right. No,
We're
you're
fired
absolutely.
or
Yeah. And the structure's there. The
right.
the framework is there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I think entrepreneurship, if you're up for it, is so rewarding
It
because
is.
it does, you have to, there's no hiding the skeletons.
There aren't. They find you.
Right, they will find you. And so I think one of the other things that I was thinking about while you were talking is that as we're trying to have more ownership, that helps us have those more comfortable money conversations, we often think that that ownership also looks masculine.
Yes.
So, do you have any thoughts on how we can also go, okay, I'm owning this, but I'm going to own this as I am with
Yes.
my soft voice, my feminine appearance,
Yes.
my,
Yes.
those are things I struggled with.
Yes. And I started in a very male dominated industry,
Mm-hmm.
right? Accounting services. I mean, literally women were not powerhouses in accounting back then. They were the bookkeepers. And that's probably
Right.
the other thing that played into that. But no, um, my brain is going too fast for my words. Um, but basic, oh my gosh, we're gonna need to
That's
edit that
fine.
part.
Yeah, no, no.
Remind me of your question again so I can answer it properly.
So, yeah, when women are looking at trying to,
Yeah.
so women are, when they are in that place of self ownership,
Yes. Masculine, that's balancing the masculine and feminine.
right, right,
Yeah. So we all have masculine and feminine energy. And as women, we really we don't operate like men. We operate from flow. So one of the practices that I take on, Angela, every morning is I sit and I ask the question, what does my heart want today? That's one question. And then the second thing is, what is in alignment today? Now, keeping in mind that it's kind of like looking at your to-do list, but asking it from that vantage point, if that makes sense. We have to, and then what'll start to happen is that you'll automatically start to think from flow versus the masculine side. Yes, there are things to do, but like you said, owning the feminine, the way you look, it's like let our personality shine because when you're authentically yourself, you magnetize people to you. Um, I know for a fact that when I was trying to be this male dominated, in this accounting, I wasn't attracting any clients. I wasn't attracting clients I wanted to work with. That was the other
Mm.
thing. I was attracting clients, but not the ones I wanted to work with. When I started being me and allowing the warmth to come out and um, just I don't even want to say empathizing, but just whatever. I behaved like who I truly am. The business started to take shape. So we have to remember that we have masculine and feminine energy. Start your day in a grounded place. I think that's the other thing for women. It's like take a few minutes, put your feet on the floor, feel the seat underneath you. I do this quick. The other thing I do, especially you want to get into your body because that's how you're going to feel the flow. You can do this exercise. It's called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's basically the five senses. Name 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, 3 things you sensory, 2 things you smell, and 1 thing you taste. So get into the habit of being in your body and then just taking a few minutes to even a 3-minute meditation, you will start to hear the whisper because our mind shouts, but our heart whispers, and we want to hear the whisper. Yeah.
Hmm. I love that. Well, before we run out of time, I want to make sure that we also talk about your book, The Money
Okay.
Conversation,
Yeah.
and tell us like why this topic is so important right now. I could think of many reasons why, but I would love to hear your perspective.
Yeah. So the money conversation is really about helping people become conscious of how they relate to money. And most entrepreneurs are taught strategy. It's about pricing. So this is it has scripts in it, it has containers. It really helps you create that confidence in having the money conversation and kind of strengthening your nervous system. Most pricing strategies come from tactics. They come from strategy. They don't address the beliefs. They don't address the emotions and the patterns that shape the financial decisions that we're making. Um, the reason why this book was in my head for a very long time, and I kept looking for a resource out there that addressed this, and there isn't one. So this is a short, no fluff, fluff, straight to the point book that I know that you will walk away with one nugget from it that will change
Mm-hmm.
your mind about how you're relating to money. So
Yeah.
that, yeah.
I love that. Yeah, we're all telling ourselves a story or
Yes.
have a story in our mind about money, about how hard we have to work to earn it,
Yes.
all the things, how much we're worthy of,
Yes.
all of the things. So I love that. And at some point, I think all of us have to rewrite that story.
Yeah. It's our job to interrogate those beliefs because they're not true.
Right.
They're not true.
Right. So I love that there is a resource out there to help listeners do that. And even with a script, that's lovely and like structure because we need that.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think, the title of this episode is We're Not Taught This, right?
I
This
love
is,
that.
I mean, it is all of those things that somehow it seems that men inherently know or they have like these conversations amongst themselves or something. All the
I don't know.
materials
I'm
are
not
written
sure.
in a way
Yeah.
that resonate with them, that don't with us. I don't,
Yeah.
maybe a combination of all of those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, probably. Again, but we are also living in a very patriarchal society that speaks their language. It does not speak the way women lead very differently than men.
Right.
That's yeah.
Right. And I think that that is changing.
Yes.
Women are running more businesses. They're
Yes.
starting to, we're earning more, but we
Yes.
haven't had these conversations
Yeah.
about what it is that we want to earn and
Yeah.
how we feel about ourselves to increase
Right.
that capacity and do the right things with it. So
Yes.
that's why
And
I think this conversation and this book are so important.
thank you. Thank you. I'll share this. I saw this not that long ago. Women are actually becoming the breadwinners in their family, and
Hmm.
most of them. So think back to the 1950s and the 60s and 70s. A woman couldn't walk away from her marriage because she was reliant upon a man for her financial support. But now the tables are turning, and women are walking away from their marriages because they can financially support themselves. So that's huge. And I'm not advocating anyone to walk away from their marriage.
Of
I
course,
just
yeah.
found that statistic fascinating.
Hmm.
And I don't even remember. I want to say it's a pretty high number. I don't remember it exactly, but think about that. It's like you said,
Yeah.
we are the tide is changing. We have more confidence in ourselves. We have more women are running businesses, and women can change the world. Yeah.
Yeah,
Women
but
can
I
change the world.
think one important piece of information that we failed to kind of really think about in that progress of us working more and earning more is that I think a lot of women tend to think simply earning more money is going to be the solution to whatever problem we have.
Yes. Agreed. I totally agree. And it's kind of that someday principle, right? Someday I'll do it. That's very dangerous, right? The thing is, it is about embodying embodying it today. Abundance is always available, always available. And it's available to you right now. Love where you are, cherish where you are, give yourself credit for where you are. We're very hard on ourselves as women. We're very hard on ourselves. But like you said, if I earn X, it's going to do Y. That is future thinking. And yes, you want to have a goal, but every single day you want to take steps towards that goal. But it's also recognizing that you're already there. You're already there.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And then, we also have to train our nervous system to be able to hold and
Yes.
accept and attract that which we want.
Yes. And
So,
yeah, and you do that by playing with the scenario, right? So one of the things is, let's just say you want your financial floor every month to be $20,000. Okay. First of all, it has to be a number that not that you feel safe with. Well, so let's make that number $41,000 because that's probably going to make a few people uncomfortable. So what you want to do is go, okay, my financial floor is $41,000, and then play with the ways someone could get there. Like how could that money come to you? Well, that money could come to you through your business. That money could come to you through partly a refund. Play with all that. It's about going back and playing and making it feel real. That's going to expand your nervous system to hold more money. So, but you might want to just hold it and start small. Hold it in the context of your business, or play with something this week where I'm going to get a new client and they're going to buy my program. I'm going to have 3 sales for my program. Our mind wants the evidence, but our body keeps the emotional score. So we've got to get the two of them playing together. We've got to get the two of them playing nice.
yeah, no, definitely. Linda, it's been such a great conversation. If there was one mindset shift or
Yeah.
Something that listeners can incorporate in their life this week to help them feel more
Okay.
comfortable having money conversations
Yeah.
or pricing themselves
Okay.
or more self-trust, more self-worth, what would that be?
So I would love everyone to create a money conversation date with themselves, right? Every week. It doesn't have to be, an hour or anything like that, but maybe 15 minutes where you actually sit down with your business and your personal finances, whatever you want to do, and look at what's come in, look at what's gone out, and just allow yourself to look at the data, right? Because it is data and it's telling you something. So your message might be, okay, there's more going out than coming in. We're going to acknowledge that. We're not going to go into scarcity. We're not going to go, oh my God, and panic and then start to do something. You're just going to sit with that feeling for the few minutes and you're not going to try and solve it. And that's the first step. So if you can start to do that, you're going to start to get your body comfortable with thinking about money. And I guarantee you go for a walk, you're talking to your girlfriends, you're having wine, whatever it is, you're getting together, a thought's going to come to you. And it's going to be like, oh my gosh, I can do this. And you're solving your problem. That's allowing the flow. But what you did is you allowed your body to feel it. You told your body you felt safe. And then the solution will come. So do that every week, even do it every day if you're up for it, 5 minutes.
I think it's a brilliant idea, a money date. That's just fantastic. And having that with yourself. You have shared so many great insights
Good.
on this episode. I appreciate your time and your wisdom. Where can listeners find your resources, your new book, all the things?
Wonderful. Well, I've truly enjoyed speaking with you, Angela. So thank you. People can find me at moneyconversation.net. moneyconversation.net. That'll take them right to the page on the book, which is also on my website, and they can browse around if they're interested. So
I love
wonderful.
that. And I'll leave those links in the show notes as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being such a wonderful guest, Linda. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.